Hello, hello. Welcome to the 20th episode of the Veggies Abroad Vegan Travel Podcast with the chief veggie pusher, myself, Rebecca Gade Sawicki. Some of you may already be familiar with Veggies Abroad, but for those of you who aren't, we're a full-service vegan travel company that offers custom planning services, small group trips, a helpful blog chock full of just about everything a vegan or veg-curious traveler could possibly need, and this podcast. With this podcast, I hope to bring you guys an inside scoop of what vegan, vegan-friendly, and eco-friendly businesses are doing in the wide world of travel. Plus, I'll give you the full download of what's going on behind the scenes at Veggies Abroad. Since we last chatted, I've been fielding quite a few emails from some of you about our 2025 tours, especially Thailand. I am very excited so many of you are interested in Thailand. It is truly an amazing country, and I am really looking forward to returning. But if you've been on the fence or thinking that you've got time to make a decision, I wouldn't wait too long. Although the tour isn't until next November, we're almost halfway sold out, which is incredibly fabulous. And thank you to all of you who are going to come with us next year. If you miss Thailand, you will have opportunities to join us in Iceland and Tuscany, but the deadlines for those trips are late this year. The Iceland itinerary is really special because you will get the opportunity to get away from some of the heavily touristed areas and explore the country's ring road, which traverses the entire country of Iceland. You'll get to see spots that most visitors never see, and there will probably be many times when we're the only tourists around. How often does that happen? In addition to that, to help the country with its reforesting efforts, towards the end of the trip, we will be participating in a special tree planting activity. Oh, and I would be remiss not to mention that you do still have one opportunity to travel with us to Costa Rica this December. The deadline for this trip is September 5th, and I've got a special deal for you. The trip was $53.10, but we've dropped the price to $48.99. When else will you have the opportunity to travel with like-minded friends, but then also see toucans, sloths, monkeys, tree frogs, who knows what else, and so much more? Probably never. So don't miss this opportunity. If you have questions about this trip or any of the others, don't hesitate to reach out. You can send me an email, a Facebook message, an Instagram DM, whatever you fancy. I'm here to answer whatever your concerns or questions are. When I work with people one-on-one on a private trip, a common concern when they're traveling abroad is language barriers. Unfortunately, the term vegan doesn't always mean the same thing everywhere around the world. I think we can all think of situations where we've asked for, the vegan options or what could be made vegan and been given a vegetarian option. Or my favorite, they'll say, well, we have gluten-free options. I don't know how gluten-free and vegan ever got connected, but it makes no sense. I was actually just working with a hotel for a client and asked about their vegan breakfast options. And what did they send me? Vegetarian options. It's frustrating to say the least that still today, this is not a clear understanding, or that places don't get that it means no animal products. But that is where today's guest comes into play. Keri Bailey is the founder of the Fussy Traveller Club and created vegan travel cards, which help you tell locals you're vegan in their language, in 52 languages to be exact. So no more confusing conversations. You just show the card and away you go. I chatted with Keri about why she created the cards and how they've helped her with her adventures. And we also discussed a recent trip she took in their renovated van. So without further ado, let's get over to my chat with Keri.
Hi, Keri. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, Rebecca. You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So I'm really looking forward to chatting a bit about your business and what your travels have led you to recently. And I think listeners will be really interested to learn more about your business as well, as it's incredibly helpful and something that I think everybody should pack, every vegan should pack into their carry-on, or maybe their, backpack, wherever they pack things into, whatever they would like to do. So let's start a little bit with what inspired you to create the Fussy Traveller Club's travel cards, the vegan travel cards.
Yeah, of course. So really luckily for my 30th birthday, we travelled over to Thailand. And it's probably the furthest I've travelled. And with such a challenging language, I was really, both me and my husband were very anxious and quite nervous about how we would communicate the vegan diet, especially trying to avoid things like fish sauce or, and anything like that might be hidden or not as easy to see.
It's huge in Thailand and Asian countries.
Yeah, and sometimes they might serve you something and it looks, like it could be vegan, but there's hidden things. Same in this country as well, to be fair. But it was more just how we would communicate that in their language. We try as best as we can where we travel to learn phrases that we can speak. But with it being a tonal language, it was obviously more of a challenge. So we did a lot of research online before we went and just couldn't find anything that would help us. So we decided to create something ourselves. And then when we were bouncing ideas back and forth, we thought of dual purposing some translation cards into playing cards as well. We love taking playing cards away with us. So we thought that made the most sense. And then we would get 52 countries covered in that deck. Then we did sort of obviously chatted to other people that we knew, bounced the idea around a little bit, and came up with that whole concept and sort of went with it from there.
That's really cool. So then for your trip to Thailand, did you have just like a couple cards that you created in Thai? Or by that point, did you have like an entire deck already?
So just a little bit about, I guess, personality-wise, when we both, me and my husband together, get going on an idea, we jump wholeheartedly into it. And by the time we travelled to Thailand, we'd been able to create a prototype of the finished deck. So we had the 52 cards with different countries on there as well. So we had the full deck of playing cards that we played with, and then obviously the Thailand card as well. So the translation on the card explains the phrase in English and in the country's language. So it says, I don't eat meat, fish, dairy, cheese, and goes through all of the breakdown of what vegans don't eat, so that they understand it.
Awesome. And so it says on one side what veganism is in the language. And then on the other side, does it say something else too? Or is it just like a card you can play with?
So it's all of the translation is on one side of the card. And the reason for that is when you then play with cards, if you imagine the back of the card has to be the same so that people can't see what's on the card. You wouldn't think about that though if you don't play cards.
No, I didn't. And I have gifted your cards. I have shown people your cards, and I cannot believe I'd never paid attention to that.
I guess if you're using it for the translation but not playing cards, you wouldn't realize. But yes, people would know what's in your hand then, and they'd cheat.
Yeah, right. That would take the fun out of it. So I guess everybody really will want to play cards.
I'm sure you're not the only one.
No, I probably am. When you were creating these cards, did you face challenges with, creating accurate translations, choosing the languages?
Yeah, so we did have a couple of issues. We knew from the start that we didn't want to use AI because that was the problem and why we wanted to have it translated by humans, because with the word vegan in some cultures and countries still at the moment, they don't fully understand what vegan means and they get it confused with vegetarian, and there's a bit of a crossover with that. So we used a service to work with humans that did the translation for us. But some of the challenges that we did face was even in we had to go back and forth a few times once we got them reviewed by other people on how those phrases are then how they can be interpreted in case they're interpreted in a different way. So we ironed all of that out, and then we did have a little bit of back and forth with the print and the font. So when there's like a cursive language written, if the font itself isn't perfect, it can skew the cursive part of the lettering, which was, news for us. We that was something we learned along the way. So that was something that we had to work with someone, not just the translation, but the artwork design back and forth to make sure that read correctly too.
Oh my gosh. I would not have really thought about your font choice influencing what the translation would be.
Yeah, like Arabic and the Sri Lankan card as well. And there was, I think there was one other, I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but yeah, there was a few of them.
How did you choose which 52 languages you highlighted in this pack?
So this was probably something that I don't know if it's going to be something that we keep trying to release add-ons or we tweak it as we go along. But the way we narrowed it down was we researched the most visited countries from the UK, which is where we're based here. So like the most popular travel destinations and in ranking order. So we went off that. But obviously there's more than 52. So we did just have to limit ourselves at some point. So yeah, we have plans to expand or create additional packs in the future.
Okay. Yeah. 50, going with the most popular destinations, that's a really good idea because that would be incredibly challenging. You know, I always think like when I'm doing research for people or research of what I think people will like, you know, people always still come back to me with, well, but do you know about X?
Ooh, I thought I researched everything.
Yeah, I thought I hit the high points with that. So that's a really neat idea to kind of do add-on cards for the future. Reminds me a little bit, I don't know if this is actually a thing with Pokemon, but I think those like cards were really popular, or maybe they still are popular. Wow, I should probably not talk about cards. You add into it. Okay, never mind. I'm going to back right on it.
What's really, really strange is last night my husband was watching some program on, I don't even know what it's called, where they sort of sell, it's not even antiques, it's because it's not, I don't think it's classed as an antique, and they were selling Pokemon rare cards on that program. So maybe they must still be popular, and they were selling 3 of them, and I'm sure it was these rare ones, and it was coming up to close to £1 million, which blew my mind. That is not the cost of our cards, by the way. Pokemon collectibles.
Maybe in the future, yours will be a collectible card. That
you never know. You never know.
So aside from adding on other languages, are there plans for expansion for other things that could be helpful for people when they're traveling on cards?
Yeah. So currently, I'm a bit slower getting around to this as I would have liked, because obviously there's a lot of moving parts and everything seems to always take a little bit longer than you first anticipate. But I've been working with the illustrator, who's a friend of mine, and she's just finalizing 3 additional decks for allergies. So people that have nut allergies, that are celiac or have a lactose allergy, because obviously from my point of view and my husband's point of view, the cards were a fit for our purpose because we're vegan. But it made us sort of then think about the wider audience and think, well, if we struggle with this and it's not an allergy for us, imagine how it is for people traveling with allergies and how much of a challenge that can be for them. So we thought it's easy to then replicate the same style with the translation, with the card, so that they can still play cards with them as well. Easy to transport, reusable. But yeah, just hitting some other areas too.
That's a really great idea. So since you'd already kind of gone through the process with the vegan ones, did it make this process a little bit smoother with learning like the ins and outs of fonts that you could use and who provided better translations over others?
Exactly. Yeah. So we learned a lot from the first round, and I'm sure we're still in the process now, just finalizing things, but I'm sure we'll still learn along the way. But that's what's exciting, is that you can keep developing as you go as well. So we're always taking feedback from our clients, and we had it in the back of our mind to go down the allergy route. what was really exciting is we were hearing those questions when we released the vegan decks. There were lots of people going, oh, could you cater to this allergy? And would you release one? Let us know when this allergy deck is out, that sort of thing. There have been some really niche requests, which might be a bit more trickier to fit in from a cost-effective point of view. But we're thinking things through and trying to find a more accessible way to open it up to more people. So
yeah, absolutely. What were some of so aside from like gluten-free, lactose-free, what are some of the other things that people requested?
Mango allergies and mushroom allergies. They're just two that stand out off the top of my head that I'd not heard of before. Obviously, I know everyone can be allergic to something.
Okay, yeah.
But
sorry for the person who's allergic to mango.
I know.
It's cruel to go to the world and not be able to love mango.
I know. I'm sure there's other things that will cater to their sweet tooth, but it is sad, isn't it?
It is really sad, man. So you've also, I was reading on your website, created the cards as sustainably as possible. Can you share a little bit about what that means and the process that you went through to do that?
Yeah, so we did a lot of research about different companies that offer this as a service. And obviously you can get things cheaper, like in any industry, but it comes at a bit of a cost to the environment, which is obviously really important to us. We were considering, there was a really good company that we were considering, but they were based in Italy. So they sort of hit a lot of the areas in terms of ethical, recyclable, all those sorts of good quality and all the rest of it. And then we had to dig a little deeper, but we did manage to find a company based in the UK, which ticked all of the boxes as well. And it just made us feel that bit more comfortable knowing that it was a more local company for us to use and support, and a little bit less on the transportation around the world as well.
And so what kind of things did you kind of work with them to make sure with the cards, like that, you know, the paper was recyclable, or, you know, certain kinds of inks?
Yeah, so I'm going to embarrass myself here. The finer details.
I already have, so you're in great company.
Okay. The finer details around that, Ricky was the one that was liaising and sorted all of that. So I don't want to give the wrong information on the details. He remembers all the numbers and the fine things about it. But yeah, I just remember at the time, it feels like a long time ago now, we ticked all of the boxes of what felt right, that was eco in and what we wanted to find in those cards.
Was it difficult to find a company that kind of aligns with what you were looking for, or maybe more difficult than you imagined it would be?
It took a little while to dig around to find the right company, and that's why we ended up. It was easier to find that company in Italy initially, which I don't know if it was just they had better online presence, but we did have to do quite a bit more research to find a more local company, I should say. But yeah, it wasn't the hardest part of the process, I would say.
Oh, interesting. I always thought that would have been one of the more harder. But now that you've mentioned the font issue, I guess that would be even more challenging.
Yeah.
I hadn't expected previous to that.
Yeah. The font and the translation was the hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, people are always surprised to learn sometimes that like operating as sustainably or more eco-friendly isn't always the easiest thing. You know, of course, like there's a lot of marketing around it, but there's also a lot of greenwashing around it. And so you, like as a business owner, you really have to dig into that. And I can't tell you the amount of times that I've like seen something and thought, okay, that could be really good. And then I went a little deeper and I was like,
they're just using the right words or
that's always really unfortunate.
It is. And I think it's becoming, unfortunately, that they're using the right, or what seems like the right terminology to get people to jump in and commit sooner, rather than asking those more, not difficult questions, but just more, I guess,
nuance.
Yeah, to make sure that they're not being greenwashed along the way.
Yes. So everybody listening, do your due diligence, look a little bit harder,
don't trust that first
first
green color.
Yes, right. We could probably have a whole podcast episode about the use of like green leaves and green fonts and all these things that throw people off. And oh gosh, it's a sore point for me. It drives me absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I can imagine. I bet in the travel industry as well, it's even more where people are trying to grab your attention and suck you into what looks eco when it's not.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can easily throw eco onto a title and there's no regulation around it. And, people trust because they're busy and, they think they're doing the right thing. And unfortunately, companies prey on some of that because they know that if they can get you in, then that's all they've really got to do, because why would they look much further? Why would it?
Yeah, they've already bought it.
But you recently got to put your cards to the test on a unique European adventure that included utilizing a van, which I'm really excited to hear more about, that you converted into kind of like a mini little home. So let's talk about where you went, that I want to know more about this.
Yeah, so this will have been our third trip in the van. We got it at the beginning of the year. And this was a 4-week trip. We have 2 little dogs, so they came with us. They're very well-traveled dogs.
Yes.
Yeah. We the main destination, or the end destination, I should say, was Croatia. So we did sort of cut through Europe, and we got to Croatia in about 2.5 days from the UK, which was quite quick, I would say.
Yes, that seems quite quick. How in the world? So you take the ferry then from the UK into France?
We did. We go on the train because of the dogs. So it's only a half an hour train journey over to France. So we drove through France. Let me get this right without looking at a map. Drove through France. We did Belgium, Luxembourg, Germany. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. We did Germany. Austria, Germany, Slovenia. Yeah, Slovenia, and then Croatia. I think that was our route in.
Hey there, fantastic listeners. Let's hit pause on this episode for a thrilling announcement, a golden ticket to Globetrot with Veggies Abroad. Veggies Abroad isn't just your go-to for vegan guides and trip planning tips. It's your passport to extraordinary small group journeys, carefully crafted by the ultimate veggie pusher and your favorite podcast host, me, Rebecca Gade Sawicki. I've spent countless hours researching the best vegan hotels, food, and experiences, and now I'm bringing those experiences directly to you. Join me and my newfound veggie pals on escapades to exciting and exotic destinations around the world. Whether it's trekking through the Thai jungle to witness elephants in their natural habitat, or staying at a carbon-neutral camp in Kenya during the Great Migration, our adventures are nothing short of spectacular. And guess what? Those aren't the only exciting trips awaiting you. So what are you waiting for? Cruise on over to veggiesabroad.com pronto. Well, how about after this episode is over, to explore our dazzling lineup of 2024 trips and secure your spot on your next vegan adventure today.
And the reason we did it, we wanted to do most of the trip around Croatia, and then we wanted to do a slower journey back so that we could spend more time in those other spots that we drove fairly fast through.
But hopefully no police are watching.
Oh no, we couldn't speed. The van was too heavy.
My gosh. It's the little dogs. They push you over, of course.
Yeah, definitely.
So was the van already based in the UK or was it based in France?
So the van is ours, and we got it converted at the beginning of the year by Van Life Conversions in Essex, Colchester area. Who were amazing. They equipped the van for us because we're more sort of like digital than we are hands-on. We give it a go, but I wouldn't trust our hands-on skills to make a little home on wheels. It's not where we shine. But yeah, so they kitted out the van. So we have like a fully working kitchen, toilet, shower, good like electrical setups that we can work on the road, which was always the plan to have that set up. And yeah, so that was our kind of like home as we were traveling along, and it did, like, we didn't miss anything whilst we were on the road. It just felt more like when we came back to the house, like, why do we need this much space? It's bigger than like a standard van. So we've got a double bed in the van.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's not, and it's all on one level. So, you know, some of them have like a pop top. It's all like one level, got a little dining table and chairs that sort of bolted in.
Oh my gosh. So I can't even imagine renovating a van into a little home. Were there things like through this process of renovating, I mean, you used a company, which is really helpful, but were there things that kind of surprised you with that process?
I guess we very much trusted them because they were the professionals, and we took a lot of their advice. We opted for things like a gasless van. So instead of having, at first we were like, oh yeah, we'd like to have an oven, and we ended up swapping for an air fryer rather than an oven so that it could be a gasless van, which now we've been traveling around and seeing people travel with gas versus it all being electrical. One, that's obviously nicer and better for the environment, but it comes with other ties of replacing the gas and stuff like that. So that was really good because we're solar panelled on the top. So it makes it so much more friendly for the environment as well, which is good.
Yeah, that's really amazing. Was it ever challenging to have the van? Because like you have to navigate parking and maybe smaller roads and things like that.
Yes, there was some challenges faced with that. Yeah. There were, so there's a sat nav in the van, and then sometimes we jump in naively and think, oh, we'll just put it on our phone, but our phone doesn't have our height restriction. So sometimes we'd end up and we'd be like, oh no, now we have to try and reverse out. Like, there's been some tricky positions that we've been in, but we've learned some lessons along the way. And we're quite novice to even like camping. So on this trip, I don't know if awning, do you know what I mean when I say like an awning on the side of a van?
Yeah.
Have you ever put one up?
No.
Okay.
I haven't.
So I'll just share this. I feel like most people are going to know about this, and I feel like we were the only ones that didn't know. But we put our awning out and put it perfectly level, and you bolt it down. So we're like, yeah, it's not going to blow away in the wind. Hammered it down with rain one night in, I think it was in the north of Croatia actually. And then we woke up, and I, on my own, can normally put this in fine. It's quite heavy, but it has these sticks that you move around to support it. As I started to wind it in, it felt like it broke. And at first I thought, oh no, I've just broken this. And it's impossible because it's electric and it's all like, or not electric, but it's all connected in.
Yeah.
So like removing that would be a big job. It turned out that we were supposed to align it like this. So it's almost like a guttering system that would, if the rain hit it, it would run off the side.
Okay.
Yeah. But instead it just pooled all in the middle. And we had this like really heavy awning that we were trying to work out, first of all, what had gone on, but ended up eventually figuring out it was a big pool of water on top. And now we know how to put up an awning.
Oh my God. So did you break it, or was it okay?
Luckily, it's okay, but it hasn't rained on it again since, so we'll see.
The next time it rains, you're going to wake up in the middle of the night and think, oh my God, is it broken again?
Yes. Yeah, like peeking out of the blind.
Did having the van give you more confidence, like for dining, you know, in case you were somewhere that wasn't vegan friendly? Or do you think it took away from like maybe the experience locally at all?
So I would say it gave us a really healthy balance. We obviously, you know why we created the cards, of that just anxiety of traveling somewhere where you don't speak the language, or even somewhere it's maybe not as vegan friendly and you worry there's nothing there for you. we then had obviously our fridge and were able to cook day to day. And aside from the worries about it being vegan, it made it more cost effective. So we weren't then dining out for 4 weeks, which would have cost quite a lot of money.
Sure,
and then what it meant is we could go out for either special occasions, or if we were in a certain area, we were, like just wanting a bit of a balance of holiday and living. We could then we wanted to enjoy the local foods as well, which we were able to use our cards quite a bit, which was really handy. And one area we did find really vegan friendly was Slovenia, which surprised us. But I don't know if you've heard of, it's like a meat substitute, Juicy Mabel's.
Yes, we have it in select like cities, stores here. I haven't been able to try it though.
Oh, I would recommend it. And we have it in a few places in England, and it's really hard to get your hands on. And it turns out it's from Slovenia. So yeah. And we turned up into this vegan like mini supermarket, stumbled across it and met this lovely couple. And they were telling us all about it. They had loads of this stock, and we were like, how have you managed to get hold of this? And they were like, oh, it's local to us here. And I had no idea.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And
yeah.
But you mentioned you just pulled into a vegan like supermarket in Slovenia.
Yeah, it was called. This was in. I'm probably doing a really embarrassing thing and not pronouncing this right. Ljubljana or Ljubljana. Yes. Yeah. So in the city, we parked literally in a car park quite out of the way because of the size of the van. And we just like took a long walk in. And as we walked in, just managed to stumble across this, I think it was called Veganski, or I can find the name of it anyway. I've got it saved. Stumbled across that, and it's a couple that ran this shop, sort of like a full vegan shop. It had everything. So we excitedly stocked up on like vegan cheeses, the Juicy Mabels, some chocolate bars, and like just all the goodies that you don't always get to find.
Oh my gosh, that's such a nice unexpected find. You are maybe the third person that has told me about Slovenia's very good food scene. So it's moving up on my list for next year. Yeah, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. And I think, the other kind of neat thing, and maybe you experience this as well, is that Slovenia isn't as crowded as many other popular places. So
yeah,
gives locals some additional money in their pockets and support, and takes a little bit of relief, or gives a little bit of relief to other places that are like, okay, there are way too many people here.
Yeah, like give us our space. Yeah, we definitely found that it was really, they were really friendly, and it was really, really calm. It wasn't crazy busy, but it was a nice amount of people that you still felt like they were doing well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's really nice. So when you've used the cards, like maybe on this trip, what's kind of the response from people when you show them?
Usually, because obviously it's a new product, it's not something that's readily available. I think at first people, I don't know what their first thought process is, but they take it as though, I don't know if they think you're going to give it to them to keep, or what and they're like, and then they look at it and they're like, oh, it's almost like I get it now, or like, and then they read it and they're almost sort of grateful that you've gone through to the extra bit of effort, and that you're not just shouting in English, or like just saying I am vegan, like, so you're kind of, I think they appreciate that you've brought that translation along, so you're not just expecting them to know. Sometimes people read it and they're like, oh yeah, I know what this is, like, no worries. And sometimes people read it and you can tell when they've not come across it as much, because they really study it to make sure that they're getting every single dish covered, which is nice. Yeah.
Have you had any like particularly memorable experiences using them?
I think one of my favorites, I don't know if it was, there's been loads of lovely people we've met along the way. And I don't know if this is just such a lovely moment because it was one of the first times we used it. But this was in a Thailand market. And they loved it so much that they got over two of the other members of staff that they worked with. And they were like looking at the card and they were like, then they asked to sort of look at the other ones because they saw the pack. And so we then had like a nice conversation about like the whole pack and how it works for other countries as well. So yeah, that was that was in Bangkok in Thailand.
That's really nice. And that had to be a really good feeling for you because then at that moment you're like, okay, this can be super useful on both sides for like people receiving it and the people using it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So for the recent trip that you just went on, so we already talked about Slovenia being surprisingly vegan friendly. Were there other destinations that maybe surprised you or you really enjoyed maybe more than others?
Yeah, I think Slovenia probably was one of the most that I was like, wasn't expecting to enjoy as much as we did. Obviously we go open-minded wherever we go. But Austria as well was another one, which we have visited in winter. But going in summer, it was just like, it was so breathtaking and just the scenery and everything about it was, we just had to stop so many times and just be like, we just need to stand still and just take in what we're looking at because it's just so beautiful, which was really nice. There was we found a nice spa that we treated ourselves to one of the days, and they'd put on, there was the Euros, they'd put on the football on a big screen outside and it was surrounded by these mountains. So it was really surreal. So we were sat there and they put vegan hot dogs on. Like, I was like, what are the chances? This
easy
random spa sat in the middle of these mountains with a vegan hot dog watching, I can't remember who they were playing against now, but it was an English football team against another football team. It wasn't the finals. And yeah, so we managed to watch that in that setting, which was amazing.
So where will you take the van next?
So our plan is so open-ended that we haven't chosen a route, which is, so right now we're sorting out our living situation in the UK, and in the coming months we're going to put together a rough plan. But to be honest, we're quite overwhelmed by wanting to go everywhere, that we're like, we need to make some decisions. Like, we know we want to go through Spain and Portugal area, but we also want to go around like Netherlands and Norway, and we want to do as much as we can do. Ricky keeps saying he wants to drive the van to Turkey, but I think that might be a bit too far.
If I might take that on, I want to know all about that.
I mean, I said I think we should do some more trips that are smaller before we start thinking about heading there. But if he gets an idea in his head, then it's hard to get it out.
Yes, he seems to have maybe a bit of an engineering background in him to want to put together these.
Yeah, you would hope.
Yeah, I think there should be a TV show now following you guys because this is quite entertaining.
Yeah, the novice van lifers that can't put up an awning but want to drive to Turkey.
That's an excellent title. That is a really great.
Yeah. There'd definitely be some stories to tell, I'm sure.
Yes. So aside from using their cards, are there other tips that you have for vegan travelers who maybe are anxious about exploring the world but really want to get out there?
Yeah, I think there's so many options to help. So the cards are sort of like a good option. As we mentioned, it gives you that sort of nice way to strike up a conversation, as well as showing them that you put in that extra effort, which is always nice. And then if there is a real struggle with that language barrier, it covers you there. But we often do lots of research using Happy Cow, which is that website most vegans have heard of by now. We are part of a lot of vegan groups on Facebook around travel. We often will pop on there or search previous people's posts if they've traveled to the area and where they recommend. There's so many blogs out there as well. So we always do a little bit of research around other vegans that have found their way around. We found an amazing blog about Bordeaux, and we ticked off a lot of their recommendations, which was nice. And then what we try to do as well, if we've found somewhere that's maybe not on Happy Cow, we try to get in touch and suggest that they get put on there as well. Because obviously it's good for it to be in a directory. And also asking, so if we ever find somewhere or someone that is vegan, so for example in Slovenia in that supermarket, we ask them where they recommend and where they go. And going off local people's recommendations, you always get the best of the best because they know they've tried it, that it's where they go on a regular basis. Or if maybe someone's reviewed something but something's changed, maybe the chef has changed or but it's not been updated, they usually know the best. So find some way into meeting a vegan abroad. And you always, obviously, then it's quite nice to make friends in that way, which we like to do when we travel as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The local suggestions are always absolutely the best. I always tell people, like, if you're going to eat at a restaurant that's, vegan or vegetarian, that's your in. If you happen to not be on Facebook or worried about meeting people, because, these people work in the industry. And I've actually had locals that have kind of changed my itinerary of what I had originally planned to do based on their suggestions. And, that's always really nice too, because then that can really enhance your experience. So
yeah,
excellent ideas.
That's how we did the route around Croatia as well. So Ricky, it wasn't actually food related, but Ricky plays tennis, and he took some recommendations from the tennis club because he was obviously playing with them, and they said, "Oh, you have to go here. It's not on a lot of the tourist hotspots, but it's the best of the best." And it was this tiny little island, Brac, which was really lovely that we visited. And then because we visited that, we drove a route we wouldn't have driven and found this amazing lake setting in and amongst the Dalmatian mountains, which
oh, how nice.
Yeah, that was a really amazing highlight for us. And yeah, I think that's such a good way. It's always just recommendations and then it's keeping an open mind. So once you've got that recommendation, just still keeping your eye out for things that might change along the way.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Always remaining flexible is always a really nice thing too.
Yeah.
So if people are interested in purchasing your cards, where can they find them? How much are they? Where are all those details?
So they're £11.95, which is UK, but it will transfer to wherever you are in the world. We do worldwide shipping, and it's fussytravellerclub.com. So that's the website. We have social media as well, Fussy Traveller Club, and you can obviously find the link on there too.
Awesome. And are they available in any shops in the UK? I thought I saw that.
Yeah, currently they're available in 2 shops locally, and we are waiting for the other decks. So a lot of shops tend to want, when I've been in chats with them, to take wholesale purchases of 4. We're in 3 shops actually. 3 shops. But yeah, once we've got like a collection of 4, they'll sit together and sort of look a bit better on a shelf. So yeah, that's the plan, to hopefully get in more shops later on this year.
That's great. And so if people are shopping in person, which are those shops that they can visit?
So Heel in Harrogate, Chirpy in Leeds, and then Haven down south, which is a home shop.
Very cool. That sounds great. Well, I look forward to hearing more about your van adventures once you take off from the UK. And seeing your new cards when they come out. So thank you so much for sharing, your story and the background of the cards. And I hope it provides people some inspiration for their future travels.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. If you did, please consider subscribing and leaving a review. If you'd also like to learn more about upcoming Veggies Abroad tours or get additional travel help, visit veggiesabroad.com and also join our newsletter. It's the best way to stay up to date with loads of new content, like where to find gorgeous vegan hotels, what to eat in cities around the world, trip planning tips, and so much more. Well, that's all I've got for now. Until next time.